Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Hey, welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting on the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and my co-host is Ryan Holmes. His Twitter handle is RHOLM22. A lot going on today. Busy day in the Raider front office today, and not in a good way. But we kind of saw the writing on the wall as far as that goes. Let's see here. Ryan first. Go ahead. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, you're not wrong. A lot of stuff going on. Transaction wire for the Raiders today.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be pausing that. What was that Behind the Shield show that they kind of amped up all year? I think that show's going to be on pause for a little bit until they draft somebody in the first round. So let's go to the all 22 as we start the show. We always love doing that. I take the opponent. So I got some Colts stuff that we'll do. But Ryan first. Let's go with the Raiders, and then the touchdown to Devontae Adams. The deep shot down the field.
Yeah, this is the second touchdown of the first half, and it's interesting. The Raiders came out. This is giant personnel, basically. I would call it 21 jumbo because they actually have 6 offensive linemen, but one of them's a tight end. But it's interesting on this one. Muntford lines up at right tackle. Luminor lines up at tight end. But essentially, you see the short split by Hollins. They're going to fake a handoff here to Jacobs. They're going to fake the reverse to Hollins coming around. You have Forsted, who is the tight end. He comes around the block. So they're going to sell this. It's a one-man route. Devontae Adams is working basically one-on-one with the safety here. The Jaguars get caught in what looks like cover 3. The backside safe, if you watch this, the backside corner doesn't get any depth. He basically bites on the play fake, steps up. And then all Adams has to do is win across the face of the free safety, which he does. The free safety actually stumbles here, and it's a layup. It's a good route to run against this coverage, as long as that backside safety doesn't bite, the backside corner here, and he did not. If the backside corner gets depth here, and you can't hit that post route, then you don't really have anything here. But unfortunately, they were in the right coverage for this play.
That was Cisco number 5, right? Who kind of took the wrong angle and just he did a whole pirouette. Did you like him? Syracuse, right? Did you like him coming out of college?
He was a ball hawk coming out of college. He had some tackles. He had some missed tackles. And then obviously he had some lapses in coverage as well and some injuries. He did intercept he intercepted the football there as well. I think he had double-digit interceptions this time at Syracuse.
Cool. So a guy we talked about before who has been struggling, Trayvon Moehrig has just been struggling with the Raiders. So gave up a touchdown here on a corner. It's like a corner route here to Christian Kirk.
Yeah, you have they come out here and trips to the right to the field here. The Raiders are actually in cover 0 here. They're bringing 6. They're bringing the corner. Roby Coleman kind of gives this away pretty early. Blake Martinez is coming as the middle backer. On the backside, you have Averett manned up on the tight end. You have Masterson. He's got the back. Harmon's got the number 3, the inside receiver, which leaves Moehrig with number 2. The issue Moehrig has here is he's in a pretty good spot at the goal line, but as soon as he gets a little crossover move there by Kirk, he bites and his eyes immediately go into the backfield. So instead of being focused on the receiver, seeing where his hips go, and then breaking with the receiver at the top of this route at the stem, his eyes goes right to the backfield. He loses a couple steps. He can't make up the speed here to catch up to Kirk, and it's an easy throw for Trevor Lawrence. So Moehrig once again struggled in coverage.
Yeah, and it seems like I thought it was kind of a silly thing to call it, but I guess they do call it eye violations. That's what
Jack Del Rio.
Jack Del Rio called it. I used to hate that phrase, but I mean, he seems like he's getting caught with his eyes in the backfield a lot. Like, it's just, I mean, is it? I mean, it's just like what he does. Like, I mean, I'm not sure why he does that so much. It's kind of
He
crazy.
played a lot of. It's interesting. He played a lot of quarters at TCU, so he was playing a lot of 4 deep zone coverage, which the Raiders have actually run a lot of the last couple of weeks, and he's really struggled in it. I don't know if it's more mental at this point, but his strength was supposed to be his coverage skills. It's not his tackling skills. So he's regressed this year in this system, and I see a lot of people all over Twitter, and they're like, "Graham doesn't have the players to run his defense. It's too complicated." What the Raiders are doing is not complicated. They're basically mixing in cover 1, cover 3, cover 2, cover 4, a little bit of man, some cover 5. Like, they're not running anything that's exotic. So Patrick Graham is not getting crazy where these guys should be getting lost. He doesn't have all these adjustments that Paul Gunther had. So to me, a lot of this is on the players too. And you heard Duron Harmon speak up this week. And we talked about it about a month ago before Duron Harmon said on the show. The problem is they have a lot of guys that can play zone that aren't good at man, and then the rest of them are good at man. They can't play zone. So no matter what defense they're calling, they're struggling because half the guys on the field aren't good at that type of coverage.
I mean, would this been more successful if you're jamming at the line of scrimmage, or you have to play off when you're doing this kind of blitz?
They could jam here if they want, and then that probably opens up a read for Lawrence to run some fade routes, because if you're running press coverage with middle, you have the safety in the middle of the field. The outsides are wide open, but I don't know if that's a leverage thing or a technique thing that the Raiders are teaching, but there's guys running wide open, and it's pick your poison right now. The only guy on the defense, the corner that's playing well is Rock Ya-Sin, and I made a mention on Twitter this week that he is playing well, and my mentions blew up. Oh, this guy sucks. He can't do this. He's not physical. He can't
what
cover.
Are you watching?
Three catches for 18 yards last week, and he's really good in run support. Rock Ya-Sin is a cover 2 corner that does have some man skills. Now, he's not going to line up and be a shutdown number 1 corner, but in this league, he's absolutely a starting corner and at least a solid number 2.
He kind of made that was the one move where, like, I mean, obviously you wish you get more pass rush out of Chandler Jones, but he's been everything that the Raiders could have asked for at corner. I gotta give him that. Jacobs comes in here now. You got to give Jacobs as much. I thought, if this is the play I think it is, I thought he was taking this one. I thought this was going to be the longest run of his career with the Raiders, because I'm not sure when he cut it back if he was trying to switch the ball over, but I thought when I first saw it and he tried to jump to the right, Ryan, I thought he was gone.
Yeah, I think his career long is 51. It was the second game with
Chiefs, right?
Chiefs.
Yes.
This is another one where the Raiders go, let's call it jumbo. That we'll go 22 jumbo here. It's 6 offensive linemen, but obviously it's 2 tight ends, 2 backs. This is power. They're pulling bars from the backside. He's coming around. Johnson, the fullback, is kicking out the safety that comes down. The key here is the double team right at the point, which is in the B gap. In the B gap is you have Miller and Parham. Miller does a great job getting up to the second level. He gets to the linebacker and finishes down the field. Parham actually is able to turn the defensive tackle to create this crease. This play is supposed to go outside. It's supposed to go in C gap. Jacob sees it. He cuts back in the B gap, makes the guy miss, and then is able to pick up about 20 yards on this. I'm looking at it right now. And he kind of, number 2, Jenkins had him up, tripped him up a little bit, and they rallied to tackle him. But there wasn't really a hole there. Bars kind of gets stuck up when he's pulling, and Jacobs has to he has to cut that back upfield through the B gap. But the key block there was Miller getting up to the linebacker.
Yeah, that was a nice play there for the Raiders. All right, cool. Thanks, Ryan, for that for the Raider breakdown here. I'm gonna go on the opponent's side here now. Look at the Patriots here. Spread formation here. You got Hunter Henry really close to line of scrimmage, and Mac Jones hits him for a nice seam pass to get the Patriots into from plus territory to even more plus territory here. So good protection up front. Strike right over the middle, right over Darius Leonard's head for a first down. One of the ways you can beat one of the ways you can beat the Colts is with that tight end. So we know Waller's not going to play, but maybe we get Foster Moreau involved, who is a capable tight end as well. Carr is going to have time. You got a defensive line with DeForest Buckner, our good friend Yannick Ngakoue, and Kwity Paye are all going to be kind of hounding number 4 to try to get that strip sack, get the ball back for him. But in those situations, maybe spreading him out, give Carr a clean read where he can kind of step up in the pocket and make a good throw. That same pass here from Mac Jones. Well, Raider fans, this is like, if you don't know Matt Judon is pretty sick. So, I mean, the Patriots do a really good job of, moving him around and doing things at the defense on the defensive front. So here they do a stunt here to get pressure on Sam Ellinger. In the third and long here, a little game up front. He spread out wide on the defensive line on the bottom, stunts inside, and able to put the quarterback down. He had 3 sacks in this game. There was 12 sacks in the ball game. 12 sacks in the ball game and 9 by the Patriots. So they took away. I mean, the Patriots, listen, young quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks usually struggle against the Patriots. And Sam Ellinger definitely struggled against the Patriot defense. The Raiders' offensive line has been a discussion for the whole season. I think they've been a little bit better than people give them credit for, but this front is serious. DeForest Buckner is a beast. You see the coverage holds here. Nowhere really for Mac Jones to go. He smartly kind of says, "Let me get away from the end zone." Pushes up in the pocket, but DeForest Buckner is sitting right there waiting for a sack. So good protection initially, but nowhere to go with the football. And then that Colts defensive line gets to him, one of 3 sacks that the defensive line from Indianapolis had against the Patriots. Oh, as did you see anything from the 1, 2, 3? And Ryan, did you hear anything from the press conferences this week that made you kind of, I don't know, worried or kind of like, or just, is it just the standard stuff? I know Carr had his, we got to go talk about this and stuff like that. What were your thoughts about the pressures this week?
Yeah, I didn't get Jay McDaniels after the game. I did catch some of what Derek Carr said, and it's concerning to be honest. When he was saying, "Thought we had this cleaned up after the Saints game. I thought we were good," stuff like that. And the leaders in that locker room, this shouldn't have carried over into this week. Just to hear that they still think there's some problems going on, and obviously the release of Jonathan Abram, about an hour after he got released, you started to see some comments that he wasn't happy in the locker room, losing some playing time. That's always been my issue for the last 10 years. It always seems like outside of last year, where the team came together around some of those incidents, that the leadership has been missing. And it seems like, again, this was supposed to be a veteran team. The Raiders have one of the oldest teams in the league. They have veterans in that locker room that have been there for 9 years, for 8 years, for 5 years, for 6 years. And these kind of things shouldn't be happening. This isn't a young team where you have first and second year guys that just don't know how to be professionals. So, that was concerning to me because this is a very veteran laden team that this coaching staff and this front office brought in for the most part. And then to hear these kind of issues continue week 9. Now, if this was week 3, that's one thing, but this team is 2-6. We shouldn't be hearing about these kind of things. And then obviously today, kind of the snowball effect with Waller and Renfro going on IR, and Blake Martinez says peace out in the middle of the season after like 3 or 4 games. He's good. Like when he sees the direction of the team, he doesn't want to play anymore. That's not a good sign.
Let's go over some. We're gonna go over some customer. We'll go over some so hopefully one day. We'll go some comments on YouTube, some questions, and then we'll go to what was in Vegas was national IR day out there for the Raiders because everybody went on the IR. As far as this goes, Cranky Boss says, let's see here. So even if Carr made that one throw, we just blow a 27 point lead. That might have been worse. This sucks. Well, I agree, it sucks. But I mean, hey, make the play, then we'll see what happens after that. You never know.
It was a 17-point lead. I had to throw that in there. It wasn't 27.
That's
He's referring to the Abdullah pass.
The Abdullah play. I thought it was the Hollins play. That's fine.
I'm pretty sure it was the Abdullah.
That makes sense. That makes more sense when we go along with the comment. Malcolm Kuntz is far better than Bowers. Also, he's barely had any snaps. The most he's had is 12 back in week 4. I think that watching film, and Ryan and I discuss Kuntz from time to time, and I think those 12 snaps being the most is about justified. I really don't. I'm not trying to like kill the kid, but I mean, I know people want him to be really, really good, and I think part of it is like, we look at Trayvon Moore too. Like we want him to be really, really good, but if he's not, he's not. Like he's just not. He's just not a situational pass rusher at best. I mean, so he's wearing Lance Johnstone's number. He ain't Lance Johnstone.
I think those people are going to get their wish. I think you're going to start to see him more here. As the season goes on. Obviously, Chandler Jones, there's nothing left in the tank. Like on tape, he has no juice. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt for a couple of weeks. It's over. He's a run stopper. So you actually saw them move him inside. Chandler Jones was playing defensive tackle a lot in pass rush situations. It still didn't matter. He still couldn't get to the quarterback. So I think the issue you have here is the coaching staff likes Farrell. But Farrell has played fairly well. For what they've asked him to do.
Younger guys.
And Kuntz is a liability in the run game. Patrick Graham's not going to put him out there for extended time. And when he has been out there, he's basically been run over. I know he made a tackle last week, but the play before he got thrown aside for about a 15-yard gain. And who I know people want him to play. I guess you put him in opposite Crosby, but you're not taking Crosby off the field on third down to play Kuntz. Kuntz is not going to line up a defensive tackle. So essentially, you're going to have to take Jones or Farrell off the field. And I think they will get to that point. I just don't think they're there yet. And I don't think if this coaches have really liked Malcolm Kuntz, he'd be out there. The Raider fans want him to be good because he's from Buffalo and they miss Khalil Mack. That's basically what it comes down to.
That's basically it. It's not going to work. Shout out to new subscribers, D. Garen and Real Men Wear Black. Thank you for subscribing. Others subscribe. What 60% of you who watch the show don't subscribe, so just subscribe. You're watching the show anyway. Adam Evenstar, the team is a mess. It's a combination of everything. I think that's fair. That's fair. It's a combination of everything. One thing's a little bit more than that. I think it's more certain things than others, but we'll see. Broncos first year, 2009 first year with Josh McDaniels, 8-8, best record he's had in his career, and the end of the year, 13th ranked on passing offense, overall 20th in defense. Let's see here, John Q. I don't think Waller wants to catch another pass from Derek Carr ever. Carr threw a couple of passes in the Titans game that almost killed Waller, and then Earl Hall always had a comment: the car needs a new garage. So, this comes from you guys up. We appreciate it. Mike from the 718 wants to know if they do cash it in this year and then just tank. Are they bringing Renfrow, Waller, and Adams back? You think? Like,
great question.
Would they explore trade options? Do you think? Here's my question: do you think they like Renfrow? Like, or is Renfrow?
I don't know.
Because they paid him, but do they? I mean, did they
on a 2-year deal? They didn't give him a long-term deal.
Yeah, I mean, do they think that he's, is he not what they thought? What they had with Edelman and what they had with all the other guys. Amendola, is he just way different than those guys as players that they just don't like him?
I don't think he's different. I think the issue you run into is they never really had an X receiver in New England other than the 1 year with Randy Moss. So the main routes for it's funny because when McDaniels was there, the main routes for Tom Brady was those inside routes, those slot juke routes, return routes, whip routes, pivot routes to the inside guys, and then getting the ball to the backs in space. And the one thing that they're not doing in Vegas is they're not getting the backs very involved other than swing routes or check downs. And they're not really getting the ball to the slot receiver. But Devontae Adams, 30% of his snaps in Green Bay last year came out of the slot. He's not getting in there. So it's kind of tough. You're asking Devontae to go outside and run these perimeter routes, which he can do. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot easier to double team him when he goes out there. And then Renfro's just not winning. Watching the tape, he's not creating a lot of separation. And I know a lot of people were coming at me on Twitter when I made that comment, and they're like, "Well, he needs to be creative. He didn't do it with Gruden. He needs to be able to freelance and do whatever he wants." But he can't do that if he's not the primary option. Last year, in the offense, he's just running option routes, and Derek Carr's just waiting for him to break one way or another and throw him the ball. But that's when he's the primary read. If you have Devontae Adams as the primary read on most of these routes, or in these concept offenses where you're looking to one side or the other and figuring out what the defense is before the snap, Renfrow needs to be in a spot on time, and he can't be juking around and doing double and triple moves to get to that spot.
Yeah.
When Carr has all these other options that he can get the ball to. So I think Renfro's going to have to learn to run these routes how McDaniels wants him to, but then that takes away some of the effectiveness of Renfrow. And I think there is some buyer's remorse for the contract they gave him because Renfrow just hasn't been able to do that. Now, is that the time he missed with a concussion? Is that this oblique injury that just popped up today out of nowhere that no one had heard about? But I'll tell you what, Devontae Adams is frustrated now. Wait for the next month. He's going to be double teamed on every snap for the next month because there's no one else on the field. Teams are just going to be like, all right, Matt Collins beat us one-on-one. Come, all right, Foster Moreau beat us one-on-one. DJ Turner beat us one-on-one. They're going to do exactly what Jacksonville did. They're going to load the box. They're going to put 8 guys in there. They're going to stop the run. They're going to double Adams, and then you're going to be one-on-one. And the other thing is this offense, Josh McDaniels isn't spreading people out. The Raiders are going big, 6 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
A lot of these sets are 2 wide receivers. You're not seeing 3 or 4 or empty sets where you have 5 out. So they're going to have to do something. They don't have enough wide receivers on this roster right now. Which is funny to say that because going into the season,
hilarious.
We were told that
it was too many.
We have too many. We have to get rid of guys.
We thought we had too many receivers and too many cornerbacks, and then now
we don't have either.
Now we don't have either, and we're getting rid of corners as well. Isaiah 760.
But to answer his question, to go back to that, I think one of those 3 guys won't be on the team next year. I can't tell you which one, but I think one of them won't be.
I kind of think it's 13, and that's going to be people are going to be mad. They're going to be mad. If
Yeah.
on a Hunter
Especially
Renfro,
when they keep Waller, because if I had to keep one of the two, I'm keeping Waller as the better difference maker. But you have to factor in age, and
yeah,
you're paying. What does Renfro have right now? 16, 17 catches for 200 yards? Not even that. Like, you're paying him $16 million a year.
he'd do that in 2 games with Gruden. So everybody gonna say, "Oh, bring
Yeah.
Gruden back. You're gonna Gruden back." So what? Like, who cares if he said all that stuff? Isaiah 760 wants to know, would Josh McDaniels ever try to get Brady, park the car, get Brady, and draft a quarterback in a draft?
No, Tom Brady's done. Tom Brady's going to retire after this year. Like,
He went through all that stuff with Giselle and just to retire after the
do you
season.
think he's angry with what's going on in Tampa Bay with that roster? Imagine what he'd do in Vegas with the roster they have right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
He's
it's not
he's
a good
going down
feeling.
the right path, and we've talked about this off air. The next quarterback, if it's not Derek Carr, is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion, with a young draft pick behind him. Jimmy G will be the guy they bring in to be the bridge guy if they go that route.
Oh, so much fun. I can't. I just love Niners coming to the Raiders. I love it. We'll see what. Well, he knows the offense, so we won't have to worry about that part. Let's see here. So you think Jacobs coming back?
No.
No, he's not back. So who's gonna? I mean, they gotta get a real veteran running back because they can't. Can we see some Zaire White a little bit now? Now that we're tankathon in this whole season, as far as
I
that
want
goes.
Jacobs to come back, but this is my issue. And again, we've talked about this is like, we hear Raider fans talk, build up the defense, build up the defense. Well, they're going to have to let some of this is the same problem they had when I told everyone in the offseason 3 or 4 years ago that they had to disassemble the offensive line to try to build a defense, which they tried to do and it didn't work. They tried it, but
Yeah,
the money on this team is tied up on offense. Like, you can't
yeah.
have Waller, Renfro, Adams, Miller, Carr, and then turn around and pay Jacobs and say, but what about the defense?
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't have it both ways. No way, no question about it. So national national injured reserve day out there in Vegas. Waller, Renfro. It was a false report about Bob Brown. So he wasn't on there. But this shutdown is injuries, and it's also I think after this game, especially the way they lost it and how they lost it and who they lost it, who they lost this game to, they're just they're gonna pack it in. Do you feel like this? Do you feel like this organization? I mean, like the front office has the right to do. I mean, like the right, they have the ability to do it because they're in those positions. But like, y'all had all off season. You could have said, listen, we don't have depth. We don't making these moves don't make sense. We can wheel out Carr if you want to wheel out Carr for one more season. I think we should trade Carr to the Colts. Before Matt Ryan went to the Colts would have given the Raiders whatever they wanted for Derek Carr. I mean, he's young. He's a younger version of Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan when he was in his prime is better than Derek Carr, but that's not a conversation I want to have right now. But what are your thoughts about that? They almost get a reprieve during the season when they could have done this and what was right to do, especially when all these other teams in the AFC West were doing all this crazy stuff, spending money. They could have been do the smart thing and just rebuild the roster and just kept Mariota and just ran with what they had.
Well, one, I don't think they get the job if they tell Mark Davis that in the initial interview. If they sat down with Mark Davis and said, look, this roster is not good enough right now after they just made the playoffs and they're moving up from Rich Bisaccia, and they said, I want to trade this guy, I want to do this, I want to do this. Like, I don't think they get the job. So I think it was more like, we're going to come in, let's take a look at the roster, let's go for it for a year or two, let's try to build up. Let's go get Devontae Adams, because I think you needed Carr to get Adams. You weren't getting Adams without Carr. So it was almost like once you decided we're going to get Adams, you had to move forward with Carr this year. And then at that point, they went out and got obviously Chandler Jones as well, because they thought that would be an upgrade to the pass rush. Clearly, it hasn't. And then I think they started realizing pretty quickly that this roster isn't what they thought it would be, which to me, you had all off season, you have a front office, you have pro personnel player people, you have people that are watching tape. They should have known that. Well, we've talked about on the show last year that it was kind of a mirage because there was no young talent on this team. All those wasted draft picks for the Gruden era are now gone. But I think McDaniels and Ziegler are now kind of in the wave the white flag mode, but they're also kind of saying, look over here, let's get rid of John Abrams. Look, it was Gruden's fault. It's not our fault. Which to me, that's a cop out. Like the timing of this, and we don't know the true story. If Abrams in the locker room and he's pissed off and he's throwing stuff or whatever, and he's causing scenes, and I don't know if he's doing that, but apparently there were reports that he was kind of an issue in the locker room over the last 2 weeks, then yeah, you have to move on from him. But the Raiders never told us that, so we don't know if that's true or not. But it's almost like now they're trying to divert you away from what's really going on the field. Is they just don't have the right players. They don't have young players. They don't have cheap players. They don't have an offensive line. But we all knew that. So I think they're trying to figure out how can we get through this season. And obviously, putting those guys on IR, like why was Waller not put on IR 4 weeks ago? Why are we three and a half weeks and he practiced for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And now they put him on IR, so that another month. So is it more like, let's see what we really have in Foster Moreau? But what do you really gain out of that other than Foster Moreau plays well enough for you to bring him back? Does that give you the leverage to trade Waller? Like they could have traded him for a second-round pick last week if they really wanted to, according to the reports.
He wants Waller. He wants Waller on this team.
They want him on this team because he's the only other guy on this team that can win one-on-one right now. Yeah. He's the only one. Mac Hollins isn't doing it. Renfro's not doing it. Moreau is an average inline blocker that can make plays in the short to intermediate area, but he's not stretching defenses. He's not getting doubled. So they need Waller, especially if you're going to double Adams. They need Waller. Yeah. And those two guys need to be on this team next year, in my opinion. And Renfro, what they really need is another speed guy outside. They don't need Renfro because they can work the middle with Waller, and then you can move Adams into the slot as long as you have a guy who can play outside and the defense has to respect. So I think if push comes to shove out of those three that we talked about earlier, I think Renfro is the one. But what are you going to get for him at this point with that salary? Yeah. And he's going to come off a year off a Pro Bowl, but he's injured a lot. He fumbles a lot. Like maybe you can get a third or fourth round pick for him. Like, is it worth moving him at that point?
Yeah, I thought this was my biggest like buyer's remorse is on the team. It's on the team also, but it's on the player personnel. I'm on Ziegler. On all I heard was Champ Kelly. I heard Sean Herock, Dwayne Joseph. All these guys. That's all I heard about. In the offseason, they got it. They'll get it right. They'll do this. They'll do this. Excuse me. They'll do this and do that. And then, they made some really nobody in the room. Listen. I know Ziegler and McDaniels are totally 100% in charge. But guys, we have opportunities where we can get some veteran offensive linemen to give you some depth. We have. We obviously don't. We obviously need a speed receiver. If you don't want to get if you can't go get Aguilar, go get somebody else. We need one guy to develop. All I heard about was Tyron Johnson was going to be that guy, and then now he's not even around. It's just they made so many missteps in this whole season, and it's interesting because the season kind of played out in their favor. The Chargers, who looked like they were going to be world beaters, they're an okay team. They're beatable. You don't go into a game with the Chargers saying, oh my God, forget about it. It's over. We have no chance. They're beatable. You've played toe to toe with the Chiefs. The Broncos have been not what anybody expected, probably what we expected, but not what everybody else expected. It kind of played out into your favor. You're playing this soft schedule where you can't just you have 17 20-point leads where you can't hold them because you don't have any depth. Where you could have gotten depth, you could have gotten maybe 3 pass rushers for the number you gave Chandler Jones. It's just those guys they have a lot to prove to me this offseason. If this is an offseason where they're going to be guys who come back with the Raiders.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second? What if McDaniels and Ziegler are playing chess and we're playing checkers? What if they said, what, we don't really believe in the quarterback. We want to see what happens firsthand if the offensive line isn't perfect. Let's go out and get the receiver. Let's try to build up the defense, but let's see how he handles. And I could be completely wrong, but it's a theory. I've had people ask me this.
Yeah.
Because that's always been the question. Can Derek Carr play if the offensive line isn't a top 5 or top 10 offensive line. Like, is he going to hold up? Can you win? Not can you win 9 or 10 games and squeak into the playoffs, but can you win consistently?
Can
Maybe
win
they wanted
big.
to put him in a position of adversity and see how he reacted to all this and how he played. And obviously, he hasn't answered the bell. A lot of that has to do with the offensive line and him, but I don't think they never could have foreshadowed or seen the injuries to Waller and Renfro, because now that's kind of thrown aside because he doesn't have those guys on the field with him. So that's just one theory. It's not my theory by any
Yeah.
means, but I've had people reach out and ask me, what if they wanted to put Carr in this position to see if is this going to be our guy long term, because they're not tied to Derek Carr.
And to show the owner that, hey,
Yeah.
listen, like we got to move on from this guy. He clearly can't handle these situations. I can see. I mean, I
don't know if I'm Josh McDaniels, I'm willing to go that far, knowing that if it doesn't work out, my career is over as a head coach.
Yeah.
It's just a theory, like
because it could be to the point where like it could be so bad. It could be so bad year one that you don't get a chance for year two. Like it sounds like
it might be headed that way.
Yeah, it might be headed that way. It sounds like, of course, that yes, like he's gonna get another shot. You know, it's from all the reports you say, but the one thing that we watch sports, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, one of the worst things you can ever get a lot of times can be that vote of confidence, right? That, but hey, we got you, buddy. Thanks. The vote of confidence. It's all good. Don't worry about it. And then when the season comes over, then they see somebody who they like, and they move on from you. So, yeah, that'd be interesting. That's an interesting take. I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of different takes in this offseason, and that's another one. Real quick.
Well, they clearly didn't try to fix the offensive line, like, and then the fact they moved everyone around for a month.
You do that on purpose, though?
I don't know. It's a theory.
And the theory is interesting because, like, yes, but like all of a sudden, though, like that record, just your record as a head coach just gets bad, worse and worse. And like, how many, who are the head coaches that you can think of off the top of your head that like had bad starts to their career like that and then just turned their record around? Usually it takes. I mean, Shanahan's close to getting that record, and he went to a Super Bowl, so gotta give him a lot of credit for that. And when the Niners are good, they make a run in the playoffs. He's the one guy who had a losing record, and now this year, I think he's 4 games over, but 4 games under. But they should be able to get close to that and get him over the top this year. They should be the one. They should win 11 games this year. But like a lot of guys, when they're losing head coach, they just stay losing head coach. They don't ever turn that around like that, you know.
They do if they get a generational talent at quarterback, but the Raiders don't have that player, and then a lot of teams don't. Bill Belichick did it, but he got Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady. Yeah, and people look at that. People always look at that. I always hear the Bill Belichick one, and it's like, that's okay.
There's not many others.
Exactly. That's. Can I get one more example so I feel better about myself? One more example? No, there's not many. Oh man, it's crazy. So, real quick, couple minutes here on the Jeff Saturday thing. And I just want to go first, and then you can chime in whatever, because it's interesting. It's interesting, and for a lot of different reasons. I know it's Raiders Colts or whatever. It's always some drama with the Raiders, and of course they fire him this week, of course, right, to make it even more. I think it's important that this fails. Like it really is. Like if because he did not get hired for just this situation. He got hired to be the head coach for a long time. They have to go through the whole situation in the offseason. But I think they hired him to be the head coach of the Colts for a long period of time. I don't think it's a good move. I don't think it's a great move. I don't think it's a good move for anybody who's involved with it. Hearing him at the press conference, stomping his foot, saying that I know football, I know this, I know that. I've been around football for 19 years. You don't think I know how to do a game? Like I've been in game plans. I know how to do all this stuff. I just don't know if it's really a good thing for the league to have him. I mean, if he is successful, I give him credit for it. But if this works, that could really put a hamper on a lot of people who are in the ranks trying to move up and be a head coach.
I think the issue you're going to have is on that coaching staff right now. Like you have ex-head coaches. You have Gus Bradley on that staff. There's other guys that have been play callers. And they're looking around. How are they going to react to Jeff Saturday? For all they know, or all we know on the outside looking in, is Jeff Saturday's buddies with the owner, and the owner says, "Go in there, go in the locker room," and he's a mole. He's going to report back to Ursay.
On everything.
No one's going to trust him. No one's going to talk to him. The coaches their bags are packed.
Yeah.
Like the assistants on that staff, no, they're probably not coming back next year, so they're not going to do anything to help Jeff Saturday here. The players, how are the players going to react? Jeff Saturday didn't go through training camp. He just shows up one day, walks into the building, and he's the new sheriff in town. Like, that's not going to play over well. I think that they do get up this week, and it's more of like, rah, we got a new guy. Let's go play hard. This is not going to succeed because they just don't have a good roster right now. The offensive line's not very good. The defense is okay. They don't have a quarterback. They're playing Sam Ehlinger. So can they win a game here or there? Yeah, if they turn around and hand it off to Jonathan Taylor and he runs for 200 yards and the defense plays well for a week, they can win. If Sam Ehlinger cannot turn the ball over and he can get out and he can scramble and run and run 10 or 12 times for 80 yards, then yeah, they can win. But this team's not going to win more than 2 or 3 games, I don't think, the rest of the season. But it is concerning that Jim Irsay went out and said, "This is my guy. I'm going to hire him." He brought him right off of, what is he doing, pancakes on ESPN, Get Up in the Morning? I don't know what he was doing, but last time I remember him, he's doing pancake blocks on ESPN.
I remember that. I remember those.
And now he's a head coach. So who's going to go get Bart Scott or Ryan Clark or these other guys on TV?
I know.
Or Dominique Foxworth.
Are we talking about is Rex Ryan? Does Rex Ryan have a chance now to come back? I mean, who knows? But enough of the Colts. Yeah, this is a bad football team in every way. The Colts. I don't know how else to do what the Raiders are. The Raiders are bad too. Is anybody trying to win this game? I mean,
I think the Raiders players are trying to. I think Derek Carr and Devontae Adams are going to try to win this game for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do I think they can do it? I don't know. You're going to have to stick around and see our predictions at the end of the show.
Exactly. We can go ahead and we'll jump into that right now if you want to. Just any other league stuff you want to talk about. I don't. At the beginning of the week, I thought, yeah, for sure. Like, the Raiders probably win this game. But with all this other stuff going on, I think this could possibly be, and I think this is the last game they win this year. I think they do win this game. I think they just find a way to win it. Both squads are a mess. I think the pridefulness, I think if the Raiders really didn't want to, they just sit them in there. I think they are trying to do something here. I think Adams is not going to be, faking an injury just to sit back. I don't think he's doing that. I think he wants to play. I think they want to start winning some games. If they play hard and win some games, that's fine. If they play hard and they have some close losses, I could deal with that. I think they are at this point. They're trying to give themselves as much draft flexibility as humanly possible. I mean, I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think it's interesting. The line didn't really move in Vegas today after Waller and Renfro went on IR and the Jeff Saturday announcement. I think it went from like 4.5 to 6.5, and I think now it's back down to like 4.5. So it's basically where it was earlier in the week. But I don't know. Part of me says that the way the Raiders have been playing, where they just can't play 60 minutes, and Jonathan Taylor is going to play in this game. Like, if Jonathan Taylor gets going, and the Raiders don't have linebackers, who's going to play linebacker in this game? Blake Martinez just retired. Diablo went on IR. Like, Perryman's banged up. Like, they need Perryman in this game. But if they don't play, we're looking at Masterson and Butler. They're going to have to stop Jonathan Taylor. Abrams not there to help stop in the run game. The defensive tackles, Bilal Nichols has been a ghost this year. He makes me wish that Malik Collins was still on this team. That's how bad he's been this year. But and then the quarterback is always good. It's a rookie. We don't know what kind of offense they're going to run. Like, are they going to come out with all these new quarterback designs? Like, the one thing that has hurt the Raiders this year is quarterback scrambling, and that's what this guy does. And then across the field, you have Carr's always struggled against cover 3, and then you have Gus Bradley sitting over there, and he knows how to. He's been around Derek Carr. He knows how to get to Derek Carr. They still have Ngakoue. They still have Buckner. Like they still have some pass rushers. I don't know if Shaq Leonard's going to play in this game, if that's what he still goes by. I forgot if he changed his name, but I'm gonna pick the Raiders, but I think it's going to be like 20-17. It's going to be really close. This is not going to be a blowout.
You know what?
It's not a good matchup.
You're what you just said. I'm picking the Colts. I'm changing.
I'm close.
I'm picking the Colts, and so I gotta watch Parks Frazier running off the field, 30-year-old, and I gotta see Jeff. We gotta watch Jeff Saturday win a game. I mean, listen. Oh my God.
I think it's tied 17-17, and I think they get Adams the ball. But I do think if Gus Bradley's just going to play cover 3 and not mix it up, he can't double Devontae.
Yeah.
If they decide, you know what, we're going to play totally different defense and cover Devontae, I don't think, as long as they double Devontae, unless they blow a coverage and Matt Collins is running down the field, like there's no one on this offense as a skill player without Waller and Renfro that's going to scare them.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is try to contain Josh Jacobs, but it's going to be closer. I wish if I was in Vegas and the line was still 6.5, I'd probably take the Colts in the points, even though I still think the Raiders are going to win. But this is not a gimme game. Like this Colts team was winning a couple of weeks ago, but they are folding it up, going to Sam Elgar. What's Matt Ryan thinking? He's sitting over there on the sideline like, I was in a Super Bowl. Yeah. I'm a veteran. Like I have borderline Hall of Fame numbers. Not that I think he's a Hall of Famer, but like you could make the argument.
Yeah.
And he's over there watching all this going on.
Yeah, they can't afford to have him get hurt either in this game. So they got to make sure he doesn't play another game, another snap for the rest of the season. But yeah, I'm thinking. I think I'm riding with the Colts here. I think they're riding hard now. I mean, I wish I was in Vegas. I'd place money on the Colts in this one. Oh my God.
I mean, they don't have a bad defense. The Colts defense is still fairly well. It's just a matter of, how many points is that offense going to score? And the Raiders, outside of Max Crosby right now, like they don't really have anyone on defense. And they basically have 2 linebackers are going to play a ton this week that just haven't played. They're rookies. I think you're going to see both of those guys in this game.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. Win, lose, or draw, it would be nice to see if Patrick Graham takes something away from somebody. It's just like, it's ridiculous.
I'm trying to find their depth chart right now.
So bad. It's bad.
All right, here's their defensive depth chart. Kwity Paye, I think he might be banged up, but Buckner's good. Grover Stewart can stop the run. They have Ngakoue.
Yeah.
Bobby Okareki's good. Shaq Leonard's good. Revenge game for Brandon Faison, but they still have Kenny Moore and Stephon Gilmore over there. So, like, they have options to limit what the Raiders have on offense. And if that pass rush, if they get Buckner and Ngakoue going, Ngakoue, revenge game, this is not going to be a layup for the Raiders.
No, it's not. All right. That's crazy. That's out. A little shorter show today because I drew the short stick on the Black Panther night. So I'm not going tonight. Everybody else is going. So I got to see it next time. But Ryan, it's gonna be crazy. Doing a recap show of I never thought this is the season would be. This is one of the worst seasons I could imagine for the Raiders, going in the wrong direction here. Anything else?
Let's hope they're 3-6.
Hope they're 3-6.
If they're 2-7, it's going to be an epic recap show. And full disclosure, I won't be able to watch the game live. I'll be watching.
Me either.
Try to watch it while I'm working, and then hopefully, catch the replay when I get home Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening.
Okay. Tough talk. All right, Raider Nation. See you next time. Enjoy the game, folks.
Are they even televising it anywhere in California? I didn't even look.
No, I don't think so. Well, actually, they might because the Sunday night game is the Chargers, so it might at least in my neck of the woods. All right, Raider Nation. Take care. See you, Ryan.
Take care. Bye.